revisit at this point in time. But do we not know really that it's about time we explored other minerals this country is endowed with? Mr. C, take us into the story.
Okay, thank you very much. So, the Minister for Solid Mineral met with the governor of Nasarawa State, I believe, over the weekend, and they explored ways of exploiting the very many natural resources that can be found in Nasarawa State. And I'm going to give a few examples. So you can find barite, you can find coal, you can find clay, you can find lead, zinc, salt, gemstones, silica sand, iron ore, granite, tantalite, marble, mica, cassiterite, limestone, and aquamarine. Now, this is literally a state sitting on a lot of potential untapped wealth. And I dare say that if we truly exploit our solid minerals, even to the tune of, say, 50%, it will give the crude oil sector a run for its money. Now, what is important is the right framework is put in place, it's enforced, and it's implemented. Because what we have seen up until now is wide and rampant cases of illegal mining. And where there's any legal mining, the proceeds are so little, it discourages the state government from really focusing on that sector. So it's good that this administration is looking at solid minerals because the truth of the matter is Nigeria needs to earn more foreign exchange. And right now, it doesn't seem like the crude oil sector is pulling its weight because of vandalism, because of all theft, and because of complicity between certain members of the state establishment and private sector criminals. So this is a step in the right direction. And if they can put in the requisite framework, we will then begin to see what we see in other countries. Say, take for example Ghana, where you have international mining companies entering into agreements with the state governments here with a view to exploiting the minerals. Now, we must be very careful to guard against selling our resources for very cheap prices. We must also be careful to ensure that we get the requisite technology transferred within a given time. We must also be careful to ensure that the communities where these resources are taken from or extracted from are properly looked after, so they don't suffer the same fate the oil producing communities have suffered and continue to suffer. So it's a good step, but let's see how they bring this home.
So before I go over to AB, I know you have some thing to just chime in, but I want to quickly get this one in. If you can do this for us in 30 seconds now, Mr. C. You also left out crude oil has also been found in large deposit in Nasarawa State. In your pitch for that state, you did a very good pitch. I don't know how probably you were making a good case for Nasarawa already in the opening statement. So I'm just wondering, beyond this, how can the government itself, win itself, Nasarawa as well as other states, win themselves of this expectation from these oil dollars and really get to work?
So what they need to focus on, they need to do an in-depth analysis of what resources their states have, what benefits they can spring up. So let's go 1999, Cross River State. The then governor decided, look, I'll make tourism one of the linchpins of my administration. And then all of a sudden, boom, we had the Obudu resort, which was revitalized. We then had the Calabar Carnival, which became international. We had foreigners flying into Nigeria deliberately and intentionally in the month of December to have a good time and spend their forex. So if each of the states can identify their niche areas where they're very strong, where they have a comparative advantage, then there will be less dependence on the federal allocation and this crude oil revenue business. But they have to be deliberate and intentional about it.
Thank you. We'll go over now to AB. AB, you have something to throw into this file. I should just log into it. Okay, that's enough time to get in the listener. This time we'll expect those messages to come in on 0809 444 0981, reacting to all of the headlines we're treating. But be sure to also catch us because we're streaming live also on youtube.com/, smooth 981 FM Lagos. That said, Abby, this next item is for you from the Punch newspaper. It says Lagos seeks residents' involvement in environmental cleanup. That's what it is saying. That's as part of the World 2023 World Cleanup Day. And one is tempted to ask, do we really need to wait for one of these days to know that we as a people, Lagos especially, need to clean up a great deal? Yes. Mm. Hmm. AB, you just called our attention to waste to wealth and the need to do more in that regard. That's what I would run away with in this story you treated this morning. Thank you very much. And that takes me to Mr. C once again. So as you help us prepare this one for court. And this one is coming in looming strike. Federal government invites labor leaders for fresh meeting. That's coming from the Daily Trust. And this is off of the back of that 2 days warning strike, and it seemed like if nothing is done, we're staring a major industrial action in our eyes. So take us through this, and what makes you feel Labour would honor this next invitation? Because you remember there was a time that's the NLC now. We know the TUC was part of a meeting, but the NLC now would honor this invitation.
Okay, so thank you, Amas. So we're here. This is the latest episode of the ongoing series between the federal government and representatives of labor, specifically the NLC and the TUC. Now, these meetings have been held and organized in response to the removal of the fuel subsidy, the initial removal of the fuel subsidy program. Now, it's in through the back door, but that's a different conversation. Now, with that, with the then increase, with the then removal and then the managed float of the naira, came very severe attendant shocks to the Nigerian economy and, by extension, the average Nigerian worker. We saw the costs of goods rise up astronomically. We saw the cost of housing, the cost of living, cost of foodstuffs rise astronomically. And In the said period, salaries remained stagnant. There have been ongoing talks between Labour and the government with a view to getting a handle on the palliatives. So far, what the government has distributed in the name or the form or guise of palliatives is a sum of 2 billion naira transferred to each state government, and then trucks of rice, I think reportedly five per state, and that is the initial round of palliatives that were distributed officially.
Yes.
Now, where we are is they've called for another meeting, and I'm sorry to say this on air, it's just another meeting to waste the time of labor. The truth of the matter is, right now, it is money required to fix some of labor's demands, and that money is simply not available.
All right, Mr. C, we are at a red light right now, so we need to quickly take this break for traffic to flow by. When we come back, it is still freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1 FM. AB Bozimo is still here with the papers, and Mr. C, my name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Stay tuned.
To grow your money, let me tell you about ARM. ARM is one of the largest non-bank financial institutions with over 29 years of expertise in money
You know
management
the
and wealth
Echo
creation.
Bridge, the
It's almost
Terminal
3
Bridge
decades.
shut down, didn't happen.
ARM is
Hmm?
all about
You know they were supposed
ensuring
to shut
your
that
I know
thing.
they
financial
said it was
goals
the
are
rain. They
met
gave
with
a reason why
ease,
they said
clarity,
if the rain happened.
No, the
Now,
rain happened on
whether it's
Saturday.
growing
The
your
work was
Yeah.
money,
supposed to be done on
safe,
Sunday. That is
well-managed
the
investments,
laziest
or
and dumbest
portfolios,
excuse I've ever
Mhm.
heard of.
personal
It was the
development,
rain.
vacations,
They
rents,
assault us.
buying
The
a car,
people
or
doing
even
the work, they
preparing for
assault.
the future, ARM has got you
Mr.
covered.
Uh,
We all know there are a lot of
And
things
rain
out
is a
there
surprise
that
in rainy season. Oh wow,
ARM
it's
has
going to rain in the
everything
rainy
you
season.
need
so,
What
no
a
so
matter
shock!
where
Omas,
you are
so
It's
let me
or
ask you
still
a
where you
question.
live.
yes.
If they have started
Start
to
your
work and
wealth
the rains,
creation
the
journey
heavens opened up, they
today
will abandon
by
the work.
downloading the ARM One
Well,
app
that's the
and
reason.
using
That at least
promo
we have an
code
official
INFM.
reason
It's
why it
it is
Great
happened.
so
options for everyone.
ridiculous.
Maybe
Okay.
start with as low
Okay,
as
I see that.
1,000
Oh,
naira.
you do,
1,000
I see
naira.
what you're saying. You
For
said it
more
is
information,
what am I supposed to
visit
say?
you do.
That's the reason they
arm.com.ng
gave. So what
or
else do you want to
call
say, Mr. C? Your
1-271-5700.
paper. Okay, you're
Wow.
picking up the ball. So, Evie, do you have anything to add when we come back on
I haven't finished.
Mr. C's
I
story?
have not
And
finished. I haven't
he has
finished.
not finished, and I have nothing to say about labor. That can't be
Okay,
broadcast on air.
studio. We're back. We're smooth 98.1 FM. It's gone 23 minutes now. Let's see before we can close up the show, but let's quickly get into some more stories, and let's also expect some of your reactions to the stories we're treating onto the number 0809 Mr. C, would you like to close up that story so we can get to some
Okay.
reactions we have?
So very quickly, this meeting is being called to stave off the impending indefinite strike to be announced by Labour. And mark my words, nothing will come out of this meeting. It will just be another futile meeting designed to frustrate and waste the time of Labour. If you have money for them, no matter how small, throw it out as a sign of good faith. Then structure how the rest will be paid. But calling them to meeting upon meeting just to discuss without any firm commitment to paying any sort of money or even increasing the minimum wage really defeats the purpose for which these meetings are being called.
No, but again, in defense, even as you make the point, Labour's demand was show some commitment. The government in itself, they've raised, they rolled out palliatives already. Haven't have at least they rolled out palliatives. Would you not say they've rolled up? Isn't that a sign of goodwill or commitment? And then they're trying to set up what you call the compressed natural gas outlets to give alternative.
Almost 5 trucks a state is a collective insult to Nigerians. That's one. Two, 30,000 naira is another collective insult to Nigerians.
Okay.
In this day and age, that you cannot, no human being can survive on 30,000 naira. It's not just possible. And you expect them to collect 30,000 naira and not resort to a life of crime, corruption, and bribery. Who are we fooling?
AB, you've got something to throw in quickly before we move on. Yes. Mhm. So this would come back to you. You've got the punch paper waiting for your attention, AB. But let's see a couple of message on the sent in on the platform already. Joyce joins us this morning saying, Zamfara State welcomes international miners coming in to mine good and revenue goes only to the government. Nigeria as a country does not gain from gold in that state. That's according to Joyce. So we are not even getting it, even when we say the government should tap into it. What is going to the federal coffers? That's what she's asking now. Ajayi Oloninlua comes in with this one. There is no doubt that the country is blessed with so much solid minerals that can replace our reliance on crude oil as a source of wealth. But the Minister of Solid Minerals must not make the same mistake of turning it to another source of curse for the communities through the inappropriate policy formulation. That's Ajayi's comment from Magodo GRA Sherry. Next comes a message from, okay, this one says, uh, the states also need to stay the course when they decide to explore other sectors apart from oil. Cross River State decided to on tourism in 1999. By 2011, a new governor from the same party as Donald Duke presided over the ruin of Obudu Ranch and Tinapa. And those who've been around, you want to see, you cry, you weep when you get to Tinapa and all of the money spent there. Well, maybe probably a vision materialized too soon. We weren't ready for it, but hey, Benag Aigbogie comes in from Amuwo Dolphin saying, federal government needs to do more to ensure revenue from solid minerals is harnessed and shared centrally. This is what happens to crude oil revenue. Why look the other way and allow bandits and unlicensed miners hold sway up north? That's Aigbogie's view from Amuwo Dolphin. Let me throw in Tonye quickly into this one. He says, good morning, AB and Mr. C. Mr. AB is talking about waste management. If he comes to Ojota on any day of the week, at any time of the day, he will shed tears. The stench from that Olushosu and that axis is horrific. I can't even begin to think about the health implication to people in that area. So I will pause the messages for now and let's get back to more of the papers. Punch is waiting for you now this morning, AB, and it says, airstrikes destroy 30 illegal refineries in Rivers State. That's according to the Punch newspaper. And this story ties into environment. It ties into a culture of waste again and all of this. But AB, open this up for us. Mm. Maybe I've got two quick questions for you before I'll link up a story because of this story. I'll go to the next story to link Mr. C into it because it's oil related. So that's what we'll move into that. But this is for your attention now. There's a school of thought, and even at a point in time, there was a governor in the South region who advocated for legalizing these illegal refineries as a way of tapping into their expertise to meet the shortfall of crude oil supply, licensing them. So that's one argument. But again, there is the argument that desperate situations require desperate action. They refuse to stop this pillaging of our national wealth. And the security forces are now taking actions that should serve as deterrent. And here you are, you say it's seeming like that's not a good measure, but this is action enough to serve as deterrent. To the second question, would it be good to just say, okay, let's license them and then get them into legality, then on the right side of the law? Okay. Oh, AB, this morning on this side, you woke up. I would like to find it after the show. But Mr. C, let's link up the story because it's oil related. Nigeria loses 8.7 billion trillion naira for failing to meet OPEC quota in 8 months. That's the Daily Trust reporting. So here we are, buying, stealing, and illegal refining. And so do we need Nostradamus or a native doctor to help us find out what the cause of our lack of effects is right now?
Thank you, Ms. No, we don't. So Nigeria has lost officially 8.7 trillion naira. Now, I must state this very clearly. Anytime any government in Nigeria reels out figures, they have been understated. The real figure lies beyond it.
No,
No,
Mr.
I'm
C,
sorry, no, I'm
that's
sorry.
cannot that can be a fact. That's your opinion.
Any government, and I'll prove it.
You can't know
From
that's a
no,
blanket
from
word. No,
accident.
we
No,
can't
sorry.
on this medium. You can't say that's any government. That's no, that's
Almost
you know that's not that's not
all the
categorical.
governments of Nigeria from independence to date have struggled with the burden of always establishing the truth, always being accountable, always being open, always being transparent. Now, officially, according to this account, 8.7 trillion has been lost because we haven't met our quota. Now, why have we not met our OPEC quota? There are a number of reasons. One, aging production facilities. Two, massive oil theft. Three, even underreporting of what is officially produced. Now, this 8.7 trillion is between January and August this year. That's 8 months. Now, in one of the previous stories, we're looking for a shortfall of about 6 trillion to fund road projects. Assuming this money came in, there will be no shortfall. Now, back to what AB said in the previous story. Why do we have a joint task force in the Niger Delta? People are setting up illegal refineries, and these things take time. They're not things you complete or construct in the space of 30 minutes, 2 hours, or 3 hours. And they're not structures you can easily hide. Now, every time we hear, oh, we bombed an illegal refining site, we've burnt a tanker, we've set alight a tanker or a freighter full of crude, suspected stolen crude oil. In all of these activities, it appears to a reasonable man that there is no deliberate or intentional effort to get the human brains or the human hands fueling these activities. And I'll take you back. A former minister for justice was killed. A former governorship aspirant in Lagos State was killed. The very next day, the crime scene was full of visitors. The chaps from Scotland Yard who offered to help us investigate the crime got to the crime scene, saw everyone marching in and out, and said they couldn't do anything. So where am I going with that example? For as long as we refuse to do proper investigations, each time you have intelligence of an illegal refining site, and all you can do is send missiles from the sky, you can't send any ground troops to pick up human beings, arrest them, and get further intelligence. We will continue to run around in circles and continue to discuss these stories.
Now, this gets me to messages as we are out of time. Let's get the messages in. JP sent in a message saying, AB is on sport. Loma has to evolve waste sorting on a point-based system. They can't solve waste in 19 million population as it would be done in 9 million population. They need to step up, and the state should think deep. That's a JP. I have a message in here from Chima Surulere. Federal government meeting with labor is endless. I see this time wasting. This is what happens when things are done without good plans. Gilbert comes in with a message and he says, Musa from Festac, like the analyst said, we need to draw the proper framework for solid mineral exploration so we don't go the way of the Niger Delta spills and oil theft currently damaging the ecosystem of that area. Ayodele Ogundele comes in, he says, I completely agree with and share the sentiments of AB. They are the least imaginative people and cannot turn 2 billion into 1 billion by any stretch of stretch. Yes, I mean 2 billion to 1 billion, not a typo. So he knows what he's typing. Idima Puza sent in a message here. It is common man that would suffer NLC strike, and that's what he says. I'm just trying to paraphrase so we can get to as many messages as possible. On the stench from Ojota, have you been to a Limosho on Igondo where a mountainous refuse dump is right next to a Limosho General Hospital? Health and filth lying side by side happily after. But moving on. I've got Austin from Satellite. I see your message. Tosin Ebaba, I also see your message. Yinka Bolu, I see the message. Tajuddin also, I see your message. Thank you all very much. AB Bozimo, thank you for your time today. And Mr. C, thank you for your time as always.
Thank you for having me.
And I see Olu from Malaka. Everyone who sent in a message, we really do appreciate you. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa.
The stories.
Bye.
The news.
Take care.
Bye.
In-depth analysis of national current affairs. Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
Can I end the live now?